Whitehall, November 16, 2014. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, residents, again, reminded to sign in and speak during your citizens' request. We ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Also, all meetings are going to be recorded auditorily and visually. Please, at this time, make sure all cell phones are silenced. Okay, roll call.
Ms. Book?
I am here.
Mrs. DePew?
Here.
Mrs. Eicher is absent. Mr. Lucetti?
Here.
Mrs. Thomas?
Here.
Mr. Soborowski?
Here. Is Mrs. Eicher on phone by any chance?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Heath?
Here.
Mayor Millwalk is not here. Mr. Furman?
Here.
And in Mr. Restaurant's place, we have Mr. Brian McLaughlin, Gateway Engineers.
Thank you. Thank you. You called Linda too.
Yes, yeah, she's
She's on the
first.
phone.
Yeah, alphabetically, she's first.
All right, Lori Bickle.
Lori Bickle, 19 West Club Drive. Good morning. Just want to start off by saying this is my 11th meeting in 24 years. It's been brought to my attention, has been brought to my attention a while back, that a person on the council was, I'm not going to call him out, was heard saying that West Club Drive, if we fix their problem, we'll have to fix everybody's. I was kind of taken back by that because if we have a problem, we're supposed to come to the council. We elected you to help us. So who do we go to then if we have a problem and things are being said like that? So I did have a conversation with Mayor Norwalk a week ago, and he assured me that that particular person and what they said will not have any bearing on getting the problem West Club fixed. I looked at the budget and it's in 2 phases. I don't know what the questions are about that until that comes up so you start talking about it. But I've been coming to these meetings and I've heard more about the overlook and Prospect Park steps than the monstrosity that's been in my yard for 24 years. That never given a letter about it coming to my yard. It's still in the yard when it's being removed. I come home from work, my husband goes to work, it's there. I don't think anybody on this council or in this audience would like that in their yard, on their property. So I'm asking you, as the people we elected, to help rectify this, and it's finally come to fruition. I don't think it should have taken 24 years. These steps on these parks are gonna come together real quick, it seems like. Now I know these parks are good for the kids, and I want that. But come on, we waited how long to get this rectified? Pat's here, we've been neighbors for over 20 years. Amy, I don't know where she's at. Her husband's here now. Anyway, I hope as elected officials you take this into consideration. We need this removed, we need this problem fixed. I finally started seeing it come to fruition. The last meeting, I think it ran smoothly. I even said that on tape and audio. And again, if I can't have the elected officials help us, who do we go to? You know? Do you want to say anything else? You can't talk, tell me. Yeah, I agree, they know all that already. He's worked, so.
Measures they put in are somewhat adequate.
So, let me just, I hope you're gonna do what you need to do for us. I don't wanna have to wait another 24 years, cause I know I won't be here. And I don't think we should have to wait another year for this. I think this should be done lickety-split. And I want that monstrosity out of there. If Andy Warhol built it, I might wanna keep it, but he didn't. It was just in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Marty Spitzer.
Yes, thank you. I would rather have a root canal than be here today. I'm here because of a problem that Pat brought up months and months ago that has turned into a bigger problem. I don't want to debate anymore about other things in this borough. I don't want to get into arguments with people that bring personal agendas in and want to canonize some people for being on council for a couple months. I'm here for one reason only, and that's West Club, okay? I don't care about the boards on election day anymore. I don't care what you do to Beth Lynn Iker, I could care less, okay? I've been fighting with the county for 6 months now. And they're as obstinate as other governmental bodies in they finally committed to doing the project, but they're not doing it internally. They're subbing it out to a construction company. There's utilities underneath Bronzeville Road, and they want they want outside help with it. I don't care who does it, but I want it done, and I told them they have November 30th to get it done. I'm sick of yelling, screaming, and swearing at people that should be responsive to constituents. These aren't my constituents, I'm not an elected official. I live on West Club, no, I don't live on West Club, I live on Thurner. And you guys did a tremendous job on Thurner Drive years ago. That's all these people are asking for is the same thing. You did a good job on East Club Drive. Now, after you do West Club, and I know the engineer said there was an A and a B, and I can't tell by this if you picked A or B, but I know B was the better solution, not a half-ass solution. After you do West Club the right way, I don't care if Pat's house gets flooded out and the whole house goes rolling down Curry Road. We all have water problems in the Pittsburgh. Our topography lends itself to water problems. For the first time in the last couple of years, I've started getting water in my basement. I didn't come to you guys. You know, that's just the way the topography is. West Club is different. If you tried to put in my yard what you did in Roy Bickle's yard, that thing wouldn't have lasted 3 days. I would have removed it, okay? It's an outrage that she did not, or her husband did not sign off on paperwork, that you guys just came and cavalierly did it. But I don't care. Don't make the mistake the state made with 88 and 51, which I told Kaiser years ago. Do it the right way the first time. They spent $25 million and solved little down there. If they'd have done the $45 million and put the overpass in like they did down by the Liberty Tubes, then it would have solved the problem. All they did was throw money at something and tell people, well, we did it. No, you didn't do anything. You didn't accomplish anything. I'm advocating for proposal B.
Okay,
I want
Marty,
the
you need
engineer
to-
to talk
3
about it,
minutes.
and, that's what should be done.
Liquid fuels, what do you think?
Yeah, well, before we get into today's packet, I just wanted to follow up on the past 2 meetings, some changes and updates, since we last met.
I'm sorry, there's something sign up? Yeah, she's still.
That was the one when she went to sign up.
The sheet was gone when I walked in. May I say a few
Okay,
words?
good, please.
Okay. I'm Becca Nesovich. I'm the one that shares the brunt of the water with these 2 people. The third couple is in here. I'm asking you please to correct it. I don't have anything left to fight with much more. The value of my home is being decreased. My home, my house insurance, like probably everyone else's, is way up over 1,000, which has never happened before, because they're aware of this. Would you please fix it? Just get that water from damaging everything I've worked for in my life, like each of you. Work to keep your home for your old age, to be safe in your home, to be happy. The American dream, and mine is cracking right in front of me, and it's being caused by not taking care of your problem. Not my problem, but it is now my problem. Each one of you would never put up with what the 3 of us there get when it rains. You're afraid to hear the weather forecast. You're afraid to look outside. You're afraid to go and measure the wall. Is it coming down quick this week or slow? You shouldn't have to live like this. I'm old. I don't have to tell you that. You see it. Please, This is your job, to help the community. You swore to help, please.
Thank you, Pat. Okay, now we move on.
Yeah, so I just wanted to follow up.
I just received a message from Bethlyn Iker that she tried to call in and she can't, why isn't she on?
Who was she calling?
She said she called you directly.
I don't have, I mean, I have it on my phone.
We conference her in, right?
I don't have Mrs. Iker's number. I was not told that she was gonna be, because someone else called her on their phone. She didn't make arrangements prior.
She did with Linda. How did that happen?
I'm gonna put you on speaker. We're gonna start
By the
here.
way,
There was a miscommunication with one of the council members?
Mrs. Iker never reached out to any of the staff about making arrangements.
okay. Okay, now.
So,
Wow.
yeah, jumping back into, before we jump into liquid fuel, following up on the past two meetings and based on discussions and where we're at in preparing the final, budget for the budget hearing. So we do have confirmed insurance quotes on property and liability. That's an increase of $5,100 from last year. So you'll see that, in the final budget. Police professional increased, $2,700 as well. Public officials figures actually decreased $81. Cyber is going to remain at the 6% that we had budgeted, because that will be removed mid-year. The insurance company feels that that's a fair figure in anticipation of what's gonna happen in that market over the next 6 months. Additionally, in the recreation department, there had previously been, a line item showing benefits, that employees no longer interested in taking that, so that we'll remove that from our calculations. And then based on conversations at the last meeting, the duty shift program under the fire budget will show that 3% increase in the final budget packet. Additionally, we just received notice that our MailChimp subscription is going to increase because our subscriber list keeps growing, so we've grown to the next tier there. So that monthly rate is now $42 a month. The budget line item that you had seen at the first meeting showed $38, so we're gonna adjust that accordingly. And then, there are several decisions that you will have to make today as a body to direct staff as far as these enterprise funds and rerunning those numbers so that we can have a formal packet together for the public hearing, which was scheduled on, or will be scheduled, I think the ad's running next week, on December 4th. So we'll need that guidance today. But so far, we have held the line as a staff, and we're projected to add about $75,000 to our general fund balance at this year's end. This is after making almost $200,000 in cuts from the 2023 budget to the 2024 budget, and we have been able to stay in line with the numbers that we projected last fall, continue to do that. So we will take all of that and put that into the final packet that you will see. So then, moving into liquid fuels, our first enterprise fund here, these are simply monies from the state based on our population and road miles. We've been paying the annual road program in its entirety out of this fund since 2021. This year's road program came in slightly over budget, as you can see, about 51,000. So projecting what we have in fund balance plus what we're anticipating to receive in our share from liquid fuels and keeping the road program budget at that $500,000. Next year will be the last year that this program could be paid out of this fund in its entirety. So keeping that in mind going forward, we either have to do a reduction in the road program, which is not something the engineers, public works, or staff recommends. We will have to supplement money from the general fund to keep that $500,000 budget, or move it back to the general in its entirety and move some items over here. But just caution you that that's on deck for 2026. Other than that, this is a pretty cut and dry, it's just the road program that comes out of this fund here.
And that is the only thing we're able to use the liquid fuel funds.
No, so you're allowed to use liquid fuels funds for a number of things. It's a very long, random list, to be honest. So we used to use it for streetlights, and we do all these transfers, back and forth throughout the year. It's easier on the accounting side for us to just have one project, one transfer. So that switch was made back in 2021, where we started putting all of that in here with the reduced road program, because the road program used to be $800,000, it's now $500,000.
Sorry, Kathy, did you have something?
Well, that was going to be my comment. The road program used to be much larger.
Double, yes.
800 wasn't
Yeah,
it?
and Brian can speak to that, he's our road program guy, so.
Yeah.
And,
Sure, but it was more.
it was much more,
and prices have gone up, so we're
Yeah.
getting less,
Yeah.
you know.
Yes, prices have gone up.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions regarding liquid fuels?
Oh, I do, I'm sorry, sorry, road permits.
I do. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. I was under the assumption that the liquid fuels fund would actually increase in revenues from the state because in 2025, there is to be a extra requirement of those who own e-vehicles and therefore are not consuming the liquid fuels to also get trickled down into the liquid fuels fund for the maintenance of our roads. So could you please double check into that when we're looking at these projections, because I'm actually expecting that we'll be pleasantly surprised by the actuals come at the end of 2025. Thank you.
Any comment on that?
We budget conservatively, we don't, it's not the state gives us notice that you're getting X amount of dollars, we find out when the money hits our account. We budget conservatively based on the past trends.
Okay, any other questions?
Okay, yeah, I did, sorry.
Understood.
So, my question.
Hold on one second, Lacey, go.
Thank you. Knowing that in the past couple of years, we've only done $500,000 versus an $800,000 amount, do you, in your professional opinion, feel that we're falling behind in our road program?
Slightly, yes. Slightly, yes. I mean, your roads are in fair shape, but
Okay.
they're not, you know, but it's going to catch up with you eventually, right?
Okay,
I talked to Courtney about maybe doing some, even though the budget is 500,000, maybe taking some of that and doing more of a preventative maintenance, like a reclamite or crack sealing, to maybe help, you know, pull 50,000 away and have 5 or 6 roads last longer, you know, down the road, doing more maintenance, preventative maintenance type instead of all mill and pave to help
Okay.
balance that out.
okay, thank you, that's very helpful.
Yeah, we're trying to think creatively,
Yes.
knowing that, our dollars aren't going as far as they once did, and again, asphalt keeps increasing, and the volatile space, we're unclear of, you know, it's hard to project that, so we're trying to think outside the box, and where can we get the most bang for our buck?
Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, we'll move on to sanitary sewer fund.
Yes, so we saw increased interest earnings here. Again, we are keeping the bulk of our money over in Pliget and benefiting significantly for that. You know, we're still seeing upwards of 5% interest on there. So very healthy fund there. Grove Point Phase 2, there are 4 more townhouses under construction, and that will be the end of the last large-scale build-out in the borough. So these numbers are not going to, we don't anticipate these changing. As far as the number of users and accounts, obviously rates and Alcosan's rates are subject to change. Alcosan does continue to impose their 7% annual rate hikes until at least 2026 that we're aware of. I do anticipate them doing another 5-year increase rate as they have done for the past, I think, decade. But large-scale projects here in 2024 significantly spent down our fund balance by over $1 million, that being the M42 Grow Grant that Baldwin Borough took the lead on. That's a multi-municipal endeavor that we had planned for, but it did, as you can see, our fund balance certainly took a hit there. The current sanitary sewer multiplier, we have been reducing it periodically since 2018. At this point in time, staff just recommends just keeping it the same at the 0.4, which it has been since 2023. But again, that is up for your discussion. But knowing that we have spent down our fund balance, that we do have a large project on deck for not only 2025 but also in 2026, we would feel more comfortable having some type of cushion in there and not depleting that any more than it has to. But is there any questions on the revenue side of sanitary? Just before, we'll flip to the next page then there.
Yes, I just want to know when the hydro grow grant might be actualized into the revenue.
The revenues, it's a reimbursable grant, so the project has to be completed first, and that's not on deck until 2026.
Oh, okay, sure.
So then moving to the expenditure sides, as we discussed previously, wages and benefits for a number of the staff are split between this fund and the general. Moving down the list, there are auditors, that is contractual, slight increase there, it's 20% of the contract shows here in the sanitary fund. On the materials and supplies line, it was over in 2024 as our railroad sewer fees, they did not send us a bill in 2023, so it wasn't paid, so we had to make 2 years of payments here in 2024. So you'll see that increase, but we put it back down to its historical number for 2025. Moving to the Shaycog Vector truck, we came in significantly under budget there in 2024 as Shaycog received a grant from Senator Robinson that not only paid for the new truck, it also had enough funds to reimburse the users of it for the higher fees that we had paid. So the number you're seeing in 2025 is back to the historical 4 weeks a year that we use it there. Postage, water shut-off, those are pass-through line items from the water company. Our delinquent sewage and collection from Gordon does vary year to year, but it's contractual 2% commission. Sewer billing costs are increasing, but they're contractual numbers. So that contract for third-party billing for both the sanitary and the storm sewer is up at the end of next year. So we will be putting out that RFP probably mid-year and see how those rates would change starting in 2026. The City of Pittsburgh loan payment there, that was a 2005 Penn Vest loan for a multi-municipal work down where South Hills meets the city. This year was our last year for that payment, so we'll be seeing $15,000 savings going forward since we no longer have any obligation there. The payment for Alcosan, Alcosan requires municipalities to budget 120%. We obviously don't come close to that as our municipality is built out. So realistically, this number will be about $900,000 less than what's in the budget, but that's a requirement from Alcosan. That number comes straight from them. So know that you will see savings on that line item, but we don't budget for it based on what's required of us. And then jumping into the sanitary sewer project list, the breakdown is down below there. These items represent sewer projects engineering and sewer projects construction. You can see the breakout in each column there. The first one there is the High Grove Road Sanitary Sewers, the GROW grant. As I said, that project for construction has been pushed to 2026. That's gonna be a $1.1 million project. So this $50,000 that you're seeing projected for 2025 is simply for the engineering side of it. Our backwater valves, many of the original backwater valves in this borough are nearing the end of their useful life. They are inspected annually by Public Works, so this is a bit of a placeholder. We don't have any replacements identified at this point in time for 2025, but there are a significant number that could all go bad, as they tend to do we install them in large groups, they all go bad in large groups. So that's what that line item there represents. Manhole and smoke testing, self-explanatory, simply just good practice. This M42 GROW grant, that is again the Baldwin Borough grant that they have taken the lead on. There is a portion that we still owe as part of our 3% contribution, so we're anticipating carrying that over into 2025. But so some work remains there, but most of it has been done. And then, as I mentioned, the High Grove grant, looking forward to 2026, that is a $1 million project. So that is something that, again, being mindful of where our fund balance is on deck, because we do have a $1 million project under, well, 3 of them, under the consent order there, that 1.3, that represents the 3 GROW grants that we just awarded 2 meetings ago, or we were just recipients of. That's the Streets Run, 2 projects over on Streets Run, 1 in Sawmill. Those projects have to be done next year. That's why they were prioritized, and the High Grove was bumped another year, because we have that ability, so we're not spending $2 million and completely depleting the fund balance there. And those grants are all reimbursable, so we budgeted the full cost of the projects because we have to spend it, and then we will receive the money back from Alcosan. But I believe that about 40% of that is paid for. If you add up the three projects together across the 3 contracts, it's about 40%. So again, we anticipate seeing savings there, but not till the project is done and completed. Send the money out, get the money back.
And that might not happen until next year, that we would actually get the money back from Alcosan?
So yes, so they're reimbursable, so we have to complete the project.
Would it be, right, next year, I meant not 2025, but like 2026, would that, I don't know how long it takes to get those, that we would actually see that, is that?
It depends.
So we're bidding the project now, it actually opens beginning of December, so we're hoping to hit the ground running beginning of the year with construction. But sometimes there is some back and forth with Alcosan on the reimbursements. I would hope to get some of the money in, but
But it could take,
Yeah.
it could potentially take a little bit.
Yeah, and
can,
knowing that
yes.
it could spread across 2 fiscal years, we take the approach where we budget for the whole full cost of the project, because we still have to pay out the contractor, and then we get the money back. So whether that happens in the budget year we plan is usually at Alcosan's discretion. And then continuing to move down the list here, the Pleasant Hills Equalization Basin, 2024 was the last payment for that. That was $150,000 that we should be saving going forward, as we no longer have that debt obligation there. O&M is simply what we put into the ground annually to maintain our infrastructure, to be compliant with the old consent order, new consent order. The new order is focusing a lot on lining, which is expensive, as things are, but it just keeps us above board where we need to be maintaining what we have, and in compliance with those, unfunded mandates there.
Can I ask a question on that, please?
Yes.
So, we spent $840,000 this year, we're looking not quite double that in the budget. Are we thinking that we're gonna be finishing next year closer to this year's number, or are we really expecting based on O&M? Cause if I understand, I wanna make sure I'm clearly stating this, the O&M projects are contractual, roughly. Not with a contract, but they are
So
mandates.
the operation and maintenance, yes, and
Right.
they're unfunded mandates, so, the saying is if you think compliance is expensive, try non-compliance. So we have to do it, it's good practice to do it, we always have, and it's helped maintain our infrastructure in the ground.
And so, do we think the 1.4 is going to all be needed? Do we think, I know, it's a numbers game. So we spent 840 this year.
Mhm.
Do we think we're gonna need, based on what the projects are out there, are we gonna need the 1.4?
Or I guess a different way to also ask that, why did we spend so much less this year?
That's a great answer. It's a great
For
thought.
Brian.
Well, part of that is, we don't know the project quite yet, right, for next year, because the first step is we televise. Like every year, we televise 10% of
Right.
the system. So we haven't, the 2024 televising hasn't been done yet. So what we do is we televise in 24, and in 25, we'll do all the digs, lining, and spotlighters. In the past, I will say, because we're on our like second, third cycle of televising and repairs, it is getting better.
Tighter, yeah.
Right? It's getting, the system is getting better.
Yeah, historically, the numbers have all come in under
Yes.
$1 million, so I'm just,
So I guess I'd be hopeful they come in under, but
Okay.
there's also, you find something that's a disastrous type segment, and then you gotta dig it up or something.
Okay.
It could be,
And these are the annual projects that you see us bid generally in April, May, and, you're at the mercy of public bidding as well. So some of that depends on who's available, when do we get our ad out versus someone else.
Yeah.
So we've been really good, Brian always has us on the schedule, get it out, and we tend to get good responses from bidders, but,
okay.
we budget conservatively and have some cushion knowing that there's a lot of volatility in public bidding.
Okay, thank you.
Let me add to that discussion. If you look at 2022 was 952,000 actual, 879 actual in 2024, and then 840 actual. So it's actually coming down. I would say, if you left it, it wouldn't hurt anything, but if you needed to, I think you could adjust that number, given the history, 3-year history. So just for what it's worth.
And Whitehall has consistently maintained our system, so our system is, we do find some surprises every now and then, and they tend to be headaches. Brian handles this flawlessly for us. You can run into, electrical wires, a canal, a railroad, acid mine drainage was one, so, and those tend to, you can't plan for those.
I know we're only showing the 3 years. Is there a way we know what 21 and 20 was?
Would, but I don't have that information right now. We have to go back and look in our records.
Because the
To see where that
mayor
trends.
point's a good one in Lacey, and
It's trending down,
it's trending down.
which is great.
I hesitate to use 21 and 20 simply as COVID and post-COVID, those we tend to take out of our trending, but we could certainly get that information.
Like I said, if you need to adjust the budget for a certain project, there's a place to grab the money.
Well, there is and there isn't. So the fund balance, again, we've spent down significantly this year because of the Grow Grant project with Baldwin. So, you know, starting in 2025, we're looking at 2.9 million, which is a lot, but also don't forget you're putting $1 million into, you know, consent order projects. You've got $1 million on deck with High Grow. That $1 million can go very quickly. So knowing that, and also taking into account that the Alcoasand payment is obviously budgeted higher than what we realistically spend, assuming we receive the 3 Grow grants for consent order work reimbursed in 2025 fiscal year, if all that were to happen in that fiscal year, then we take that minus the projected shortage of 220, that would leave a fund balance potentially of 1.1 at the end of 2025. You could spend it down to that. So I know that that doesn't reflect because of the way we have to budget with the reimbursable grants and with the Alcoasand 120% requirement, but that's probably a more realistic potential figure if the fiscal year and all the reimbursements happen as we intend that they would. You would be spending your sanitary down to 1.1. You know, a few years ago there was about 6 million in there. We're now doing very large projects.
Bigger projects,
So that's again why staff is at this point not recommending any adjustment to the multiplier as well.
So just to be clear then, what the budget's saying is we're gonna be, even with the fund balance going fully in, the full sanitary sewer fund balance, we're still gonna overspend by $220,000. Am I reading that correctly?
Sorry, I'm just
Yeah.
following. So, yes, there's still a shortage of $220,000, even if, you know, we budgeted the correct Alcoasand amount. If we took off the, you know, almost 500,000 for the Grow grants, there would still be that shortage that you need to use from your fund balance.
But getting back to the O&M, if you have the same as you had this year, you'll have the $600,000 available to you.
Correct. So the budget is the budget. The actual and, you know, what we know has happened in the past is different, but
But even
that's
if,
context to the numbers.
even
on
if we
the
save
page.
that $600,000, if it was that just means $600,000 less from our fund balance that we're putting
Correct.
towards it. So it's
Right.
not like
Right.
an
Yeah.
extra $600,000 that we can.
No,
Yeah.
you're still drawing down the fund
Taking less
balance,
from our
just
bank.
less
Yeah.
is what it is. So yes, you're still going to draw on the fund balance in 2025. The extent of it is to be unknown at this point.
Okay, any more questions regarding the sanitary sewer? Okay, gonna move on to the storm sewer fund.
So here we did see increased interest earnings again, that, you know, we're on the budget conservatively, we're benefiting again from the Pliget rates, but the potential project list, which we'll get to, could spend the fund balance down by over, you know, $500,000. User fees are historical based on the number of our properties in the borough. Again, Grove Point has just 4 more townhouses over there, so the borough is completely built out on the revenue side here. The split between current and delinquent has really varied over the past few years, so the trending there is difficult. Delinquent was up slightly for 2024, but we're budgeting conservatively for 2025 going forward. That last line there, the other financing, obviously we're zeroing it out as we have been, but back in 2023, we did close out the Doverdale Construction Fund, so that will come off next year's budget. You'll see that line go away. The storm sewer fee itself was established in 2015, as many of you know, at the $8 per ERU, and it has not been adjusted. There's never been a discussion of adjusting it, but I just wanted to throw that out, that that's where those revenue fees, what those revenue fees are based on. But our fund balance here, again, is being depleted. It was established simply to pay off the 2017 Doverdale loan. It covers our basic MS4 upkeep and about $250,000 a year in small projects. That's historically what this fund has been used for, and it's enabled us to keep a healthy fund balance for emergencies. You know, as we saw, we recently had some work in the creeks that completely unexpected. Having that fund balance allows us to address those. So then moving down to the expenditure side, the MS4 compliance simply keeps us current with the current cycle. We did just start a new 5-year permit there to be seen what's gonna be required of us of that going forward and what projects that will lead to. Our billing and collections costs, again, they're contractual numbers. This is the third-party sewer billing that we do with Georgia Tax. That contract, again, is up at the end of next year, so we'll be putting that out probably mid-year. Our storm sewer emergency line item, this represents the Wayman Road sinkhole that occurred earlier this year across in the parking lot across from Princess Lanes. So staff did work with Capital Corporation to get that fixed as quickly as we could. But out of that, you know, as you've heard previously from Mr. Russ Meisel, that there was a number of investigations and identified the need for some very critical work that does need to be done there under Wayman Road. Projects completed in 2024, we did complete the Felix Drive project. The Dover tank cleaning was not needed, so we did see savings of about $50,000 there. But the project list for 2025, some decisions have to be made here. As you can see, every project that, you know, council had discussed in previous meetings is listed here, you know, to the tune of $843,000. Going down through this, the Streets Run Railroad Swale project, that was a project that was originally budgeted for this year that we were unable to get to with all the other workload, so it's being carried forward over into 2025. This Wayman Road Storm Sewer Rehab, this is the project where the critical infrastructure needs below Wayman Road were identified after that sinkhole appeared in the Cassie parking lot. The borough engineer, you know, previously described the large pipes there. I think it's a 72, a 42, 102. So not small infrastructure, very vital infrastructure. It's not an inexpensive project. Obviously, you can see it's $385,000, which is more than we historically have spent on projects out of the storm sewer fund. But it is certainly a priority for a number of public safety reasons for our infrastructure, and something staff certainly recommends prioritizing, as the sinkhole in the parking lot was one thing, a sinkhole in Wayman Road is a completely different animal. So that's what that project there represents. The pollution reduction plan, the PRP report updates, these are annual costs as part of our MS4 requirements and permitting that we perform. And then the two Club Drive West, it has been broken down into phase 1, phase 2. You'll note the asterisk for phase 2, there is another component of that would show under the general. Option 1 was a smaller project that was described, I believe the engineer had a memo, I don't want to find it. Had prepared a
Turn and
memo.
face us when you're talking about that, because that's real important. That's why I can't understand what you're saying, please.
The Gateway, thank you, Brian. The Gateway memo that they had prepared in September described, you know, work that we're calling phase 1 or option 1 over there. So that, you know, according to their memo, that is something that wouldn't, you know, functionally change the subsurface or the groundwater over there on Curry and West Club. But that's what phase 1 represents at $215,000. And then moving to option 2 or phase 2, the storm portion here at 110 would come out of this fund, but there would be an additional $360,000 needed from the general, which isn't shown here, but would show under debts and transfers. But that would also incur additional legal costs, as that project calls for installation of a storm sewer system along that entire roadway. So you need easements from all the property owners, you know, putting in the pipe, which is what you're seeing out of the storm sewer, and then repairs of the road, which is the $360,000 that you're not seeing in this fund, but would show elsewhere. And then the last two items here under the project list, as far as stormwater utility and miscellaneous, are simply items we carry year to year related to O&M, MS4, just basic operations and upkeep there. So with that said, the entire project list as it stands is at $843,000. Significantly spending down the fund balance, as you can see there in red, under the transfers, and essentially not depleting the fund balance, but bringing it pretty low. So staff at this point needs guidance on what projects are to be included in both the storm sewer, and if you're going to consider this the phase 2, that would also require additional monies out of the general.
Okay, so I have two questions. One, what are we doing for $215,000 in phase 1, if it's not the storm sewer?
So phase 1 is the storm sewer down the Curry Road.
Okay, got it.
So like from the end of West Club
Okay,
down the
okay,
Curry Road.
perfect.
And then phase 2 would be to storm down the entire road.
Okay, all right.
It would be phase two.
Okay, so then my second question is, why do we need to take $360,000 from the general fund? Can we not use the storm sewer fund for that $360,000?
That 365 was for the road work.
Okay.
It's all the road
Got it.
reconstruction to bring it up to borough
Okay,
standards.
okay, all right, very good. That answers my questions.
If option one was chosen, what would your professional opinion be as far as what would happen? Would it resolve the problem?
It wouldn't resolve any subsurface groundwater that was getting into any of the homes.
So it'd be cosmetically.
No, well,
Yeah, according
You
to,
give me an
I should
answer.
have printed the September 3rd memo that we've previously all been given by Scott Russmeisel, but yes, the last line here is that the elimination of that swale would not change the subsurface groundwater.
okay, let me ask this, right. Pat Knezovich has pictures of a ton of water coming down West Club Road from Brownsville, all the way down to where the storm sewer is to be created.
Okay.
That storm sewer would take that water down to Curry, is that right?
If you do it completely.
Yeah, okay, so that'll take it to, that'll take it to Curry. So I think what you're saying is, if there's any water that falls on the ground, it's not gonna change that. But it will change the water, the volume of water coming down West Club Road, right to that point, and then, down over the hill. It'll take care of that water, phase one. Is that the question you're asking? Phase one will take care of that water coming off of West Club Road and take it down to Curry Road.
That's getting to that inlet at the end now.
Okay,
Yes,
all
so
right,
let's
it
get
would
to that
essentially take
part.
this,
okay.
essentially the way the swale that exists is functioning, it would be cosmetic, it would take that below ground in a pipe.
And we could remove the asphalt that we currently have there, because it won't be necessary, right? We'll pipe it down. Okay.
Mayor, can I ask this gentleman's name and what company he works with? I have never met him until today.
I'm Brian Fly, I work with Gateway.
Okay, I didn't know if you were
Yeah.
part of Gateway, cause
Yeah.
the other guy's usually on the other side, so.
Yeah.
Could you explain again, Eric, especially to Lori, that hump of asphalt which is saving my home? That under phase one will be all dug out. A sewer will be installed at the end of their property that will carry underground in an encased tubing to the sewer, which is already established at the corner of Norwin and Curry. If that is not completely done under phase one, then the whole thing is for naught. You need to get sewers along Club Drive west, and the leftover, if there is any, at that point, will be directed. Right now, it's directed into her yard. This man goes to work. I've watched him for 40 years, day and night. And what he's working for is being destroyed. Unless you kids get it right. And getting it right is doing your job. And you get into phase two and do it right. So our lives are not diminished for nothing over a pipe. A pipe! You can't get a pipe from one end of a road to another.
Pat, I think I heard him say that we are putting in a pipe that you asked, right? Right?
That's the discussion on the
That's,
table.
that's
Okay.
phase one.
And
Okay,
will
all right,
that
okay, so-
remove all this junk these people are putting up with in their yard? When they go to sell our homes, what do you think people are gonna say? What is this? What? Water comes from the whole hill here to my yard? I don't need your house. What do you think the value of what we're working for is gonna be worth? Nothing. Unless we get it right.
But at this point, staff needs direction if all of these projects are included, because it will significantly alter not just this fund, but the general fund as well, and retweaking numbers what is the
Can we
project
go
for
back
the
to
storm
phase one for a
sewer?
minute?
What is the project for the storm sewer fund?
In phase one, if we can, is that big piece of asphalt coming out and the sewer line's gonna put in? A top sewer, a pipe, and a sewer at the bottom of Curry.
It's gonna
Is
be,
that phase one?
phase one is a pipe, yes, between the properties down
That's
the
not what I'm
curb.
asking you. That asphalt, is that coming out in phase one? Yes or no? That's all I wanna know.
It wasn't in Scott's estimate.
What?
Well, wouldn't you have to dig under the asphalt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, wait,
Yeah.
they're gonna
That's
have
part
to
of the
dig
program.
under the asphalt, it's gonna
So
come
what
out.
she's afraid of is, when you do that, she's worried about that pipe, and those two sewers, not taking that water away from her home, because now that big asphalt's gonna be gone. So can you assure her, there's gonna be a big enough pipe there, and the top sewer and the bottom sewer, from West Club to Curry, so she doesn't have to worry. And then whatever phase two is extra to help out with the problem. Cause that's what she's worried about too. But I'll tell you what, in phase one, that big piece of asphalt is 30 foot long, 2.5 foot high. It came in on our property without our permission, better be gone. Get Dino in there or whatever you gotta do to dig it out.
Brian, isn't part of it the inlet that's constructed to be able to take the water in?
Yes. That's
So
just at
if
the end
the
of
inlet is constructed properly, it shouldn't bring water onto, where the asphalt is, so.
I can't understand why we have to do it in phases, why we can't just get the problem solved.
Well, let's
Can I say
get
one thing?
the sewer.
Can I say one thing? That swell that's in there is actually inadequate for what's there. If I hadn't put the pipeline down right where they ended it, it would be basically right at the level of the back of her house. I had to bring pipe in myself to fix that.
I know, now we're trying to fix that, so
Right.
if it's piped all the way down, you don't need your pipe.
Right, I'm just saying where it ended up what the borough
they
did
ran
was
out of
totally
asphalt.
inadequate.
Excuse me, how many storm sewers are in option one that you're installing?
We're putting an inlet in at the end of West Club.
What's an inlet?
It's a catch basin that collects the water.
How many?
It's the grate.
We have two shown on our schematic. And then a pipe down between the homes.
Two's not gonna work. You need to do West Club like you did, Thurner Drive.
Well, that'd be phase two,
That's phase two.
installing more
But we
down
didn't,
the road.
but the catch basins are all at the bottom of Thurner Drive. You don't need to go into all the people getting permissions and easements and all that. All the catch basins are at the bottom of the cul-de-sac. If you just did the cul-de-sacs in one fell swoop, you need 3 or 4. You did that solves your problem. I don't understand this pipe system from West Club down to Curry. The water that's in the catch basins, the storm water that goes into the catch basins, where does it go?
In our proposal here,
Yes.
it's gonna go in a pipe down to Curry Road.
Is that how all storm water is handled? I don't know. I'm not an engineer.
Typically, yeah, it's collected in the inlet or catch basin and then transported through pipe.
And that's the pipe between her property and my property, which will be
Right.
installed.
Yes.
Look, Pat has those pictures, all that water coming in West Club, it has to go somewhere, right?
Right?
So Brian's saying there'll be inlets at the end, it's gonna fall in the inlets, and it's gonna go into a pipe, and the pipe's gonna take it down to Curry Road.
Why
It's
don't you
gone.
just put 4 storm sewers in and the pipe, and you don't have to deal with the other people on West Club?
Well, he's our borough engineer, not you.
I'll bring my daughter up, and we'll have a match.
When are we planning
storm sewers
to
isn't
do
gonna do it.
this? Time is very important in my life. When are we planning this project? If we approve it here today, then the next meeting it'll say it's on the list for when we get to it. Do we have a time frame? It's very important. I might have to sell
Would any-
my house quickly.
Would anyone else like to make a comment regarding this? So we need to decide, I guess, right now, what direction
Staff
we wanna
needs
go.
direction to prepare the budget, what projects is council looking at for 2025, you know, and future, so that we know how to create both this fund and the general fund.
And the urgency, can we go through the urgency again of the Wayman Club, Wayman
The
Road?
Wayman project is a priority for public safety reasons. It is, you know, the infrastructure there has been identified as pretty critical. The sinkhole that already opened up in the parking lot shows us that. If that were to happen in a roadway, let alone Wayman Road, which is, you know, a heavily trafficked road right at a large intersection, that would have significant challenges for us as a borough to respond to. And we've identified the three large pipes there,
Wayman's a state road, right?
yes.
Can we get any state funds for that?
So you can get grants or anything?
Yeah.
Is there any possibility of anything?
Grants usually take a year or two as far as planning, applying, and getting funds. In the interim, you risk a sinkhole appearing in Wayman. The state has also taken an approach that stormwater on state roads is not their responsibility.
So they'll take,
If we leave it and then it collapses, then would it be their responsibility?
It's a legal question.
This is the lawsuit we're in, you know,
We've been fighting for a few
that's,
years.
they claim no, right, their position is no. Now, we had the issue on another state road where they took the position that it was no, but, and they fixed this and they leaned out, you know, they sent us a bill for two bills for what it is. So the answer is, it's our, you know, the state's position is no, absolutely not, it's not their responsibility, because this is the thing, if we were a township, the answer would be yes. They're saying we're a borough, which we're not, the answer is no, we're a home rule community, I believe, our legal position is that wouldn't be it, but that's where it stands for now.
What would happen if we were a city, if we reclassified ourselves as a city because we have the population to do that?
No,
Would
first,
that-
we're a home rule community, right, so we're not a city, we're not a borough, no matter what your title is, it doesn't matter. But, cities don't fall into that either, it's the townships that,
You have budgeted $740,000. You can do both Wayman and at least phase one of West Club, which would be 590,000 of the 740.
Well, that, just so you're reading and understanding correctly, the two line items you need to look at that relate to the chart at the bottom there, the engineering and construction. So that 103 and that 740 equal the 843 at the bottom there. That includes the entire
I
project
see what you're
list.
saying. So you can do the whole
basically, we
thing.
need- well, no, if you were to do the whole thing, it would deplete your fund balance and then some. So that's where staff needs direction from council on the priority of what is to be budgeted for 2025 and going forward, so that we can budget appropriately without either raising the storm sewer fee or just depleting the fund in its entirety.
Well, wouldn't deplete it in its entirety, we'd take it down to what? If we follow this budget, as you have it here, what would the fund balance be?
1.2, you'd spend 872,000 would be transferred from the fund balance.
From 1.2,
Here.
so you'd have 400,000 left.
And then the 360, that, again, the asterisk here does not show in this fund, that would come from the general fund balance.
Yeah, that's for phase two of the project.
Yes.
If we did phase two in 2025.
Well, I
Plus
think-
additional legal costs, which aren't again reflected in this fund.
Well, personally, I think phase two should be off the table. That's how much money? 500,
500
Yeah.
roughly.
yeah, about $500,000 to do phase two. Or is it, well, we'd have to do phase one and two. But you can't just do phase two and not phase one.
Phase one needs
Phase
done.
two.
Phase
one.
one.
So really to be looking, yes.
So
to be
between
looking
both of them, it's 685,000 by my rough math.
Plus legal
Plus
that would be
legal.
required for the phase two easements,
Yeah,
which,
there'll be easements on phase one also.
yes, but
Easements.
significantly
Yes.
less easements. But based on our experience when we did the large scale Joverdale project, that took 2 years and a significant amount of money in legal gathering those easements, and I think we ended up eminent domaining the last few. So there's a cost that's not shown in this budget that would have to be reflected elsewhere.
Would we, all, the consensus be that we would eliminate, the second phase, phase two?
That's my feeling. $685,000. Yeah, I can't justify that much money for that project.
We could do phase one and see if it works. You know what I mean, if it eliminates.
Why not give every resident X number of dollars and say, go ahead and do your project?
No,
This is a project on private property.
It is not a project on private property, Kathy, you keep saying that, it's not. The solicitor would
The
tell
only
you
part
if it's on
that
private
isn't is the
property.
easement, and that's the part
Okay,
that we
no, it's,
already replaced.
no, that's what we have a solicitor for,
Yeah, let him
Kathy.
explain.
That's what we have a solicitor for.
Just to be clear, this project is not a private project, right?
Right.
It's the stormwater, because there's work that's already been done there. You know, that, the work that you're talking about, excuse me, is not private, it's public, it's not improper use of funds, it's legitimately a public project. So just that part of it, I wanna be clear on that, I said that.
Right, absolutely.
Repeatedly, I've said it again, it's not, that's not illegal, there's not a legal impediment to doing that project.
Tell that to the
Where did
residents
you
that
get
put
those
in some
numbers from?
funds.
Did you just read, because I'm trying to follow along here, I'm not seeing 600 anything. I'm seeing
That'd be the
740.
110 from phase two, the 215 from phase one, and the $360,000 for the road
Okay,
repair.
why do you wanna cut out phase two? You don't live there, you don't know what we go through. Why
Well,
would
the
you do that?
residents
to
in
me?
Point Grove
I
are
just
going
think
to do
the
all this themselves.
$685,000 is
No,
where I have
he's
my problem.
entitled to the,
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
that's
Okay,
all
I'm
I'm
asking
asking
you,
right now.
because you don't live there, you don't know what we have to go through.
I understand
Doesn't
that.
And you're an
matter.
elected official, you should be trying to help us, not
Okay,
eliminate
we know
stuff.
where Tristan and Kathy stand, Lacy? Well,
We're
Pastor.
here today to
No,
talk about this.
no. I'm an elected official, you should hear my opinion. I think if we're going to move forward with something now for 2025, I think phase one is a very good place to get the swale out of your yard, to get the 2 inlets on West Club.
It will work,
Okay, Marty,
yes.
I respect your opinion, but I'm gonna go with what our expert engineers, as you said recently, you are not an engineer. So I'm gonna go with the paperwork that they provided to me that, hang on,
You need a minimum of 3.
Marty.
We have an engineer here, please.
you said they did a great job on your road, so let
They
them,
did 3 on my road.
but your road is a different size and width than West Club.
It will
So
work.
they took that into consideration. There are 2 on West Club with the pipeline down to the bottom. The solicitor has cleared up everything that he stated, so I would say we start with phase one.
When?
So
Well, that well would have to be approved
That's-
first of all.
we gotta get it approved and then you have to do all the stuff.
Yeah, but how long does that take about?
I mean, the budget has to be approved first and foremost.
Let's get the budget
Yeah, let's get into
approved.
the budget
This
first.
is a 25
Get the budget
project.
approved and then come into the meetings.
Is this meeting for
But
that
that's what we're
purpose?
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
purpose of putting it in the budget, Pat.
Oh,
Get it in the budget first, then worry about when it starts.
well, when is the budget gonna be up for?
It has to be shown in 2 weeks.
The budget
It has
gets,
to be approved before January. It
The
has to be
budget-
approved.
This year, or it
Yes.
has to be approved this year?
the budget is, at the first meeting in December, the budget is presented to the public for comment. And at the second meeting in December, it's adopted.
Jim, can I just say one thing? The county told me no, over and over and over again. It's a county road. I said, you're gonna fix it in my delicate, nice manner, and they're gonna fix it. If you have a problem, and you do have a big problem on Wayman Road, and if it's a state road, I feel no responsibility to people on Wayman Road if it's a state road. That's why you don't, elect Mon Valley politicians for Whitehall. The state should pay every dime for Wayman Road, not Whitehall.
Okay, all right. Well,
And if you don't put 3 storm sewers on West Club in phase one, you need one on the left, one on the right, and one in the middle. It's that simple. That into itself might solve most of your problems. But if you put 2, it's not gonna solve it, and I could care less who has titles in this room.
All right, thank you, Marty. Stone, you want to comment? We
do I
might as well
wanna-
hear from everybody.
Yep.
Well, no, I'd like to see the drawings. Phase one's a definite, we have to put that in the budget. Phase two, we need to, you have it?
Phase two.
This is phase one.
Oh, I
We,
mean,
we don't
Phase
have a
nothing.
phase,
Phase
everything
two
was
is-
just schematic.
you don't have a documents of phase two?
We didn't, yeah, we did, even phase one is schematic at this point.
Okay, do you think we could get that at some point, the phase two, what it would entail?
We could work on the
Council would have to
schematic.
direct the engineers to formally put it together, and that takes time and money.
Okay, hello, this is Linda.
Go ahead, Linda.
Yeah, hi there. I've been hearing most of this because it didn't come out there, but, yes, I believe to move forward with phase one for now, put it in the budget, and, I think that's gonna alleviate, like we all talked about it, what the engineer proposed, so I'm going for phase one.
Okay, thank you. Beth Ann?
Mrs.
Councilor
Iker?
Lynn.
Yes, I'm here, and it's
Beth Lynn, I'm
Beth
sorry,
Lynn.
Beth
Thank
Ann,
you.
I'm sorry.
So, yes, I understand something called order of operations. So phase one is first. Now, historically, as we had discussed in earlier this budget proceedings, that we have, bids that happen time and time again that are done, and then the project isn't done for years, and sometimes it really does take a long time to gather up all the easements and make it a go. Now, it really does make sense to identify what those costs are, get the ball rolling with phase one, knowing full well that we will have to do phase two. Now, if we're looking up and we're seeing it happen in January of 2026, that we're actually mobilizing on phase two, then that might be the actual reality of it. But I'm not going to throw my hands up in the air saying that phase two is completely unnecessary. Phase one is also completely necessary. I don't care that it's been labeled as cosmetic simply because this has been a project that was done, and unfortunately it wasn't done to a sustainable way. And we have the responsibility to this and future generations to get this done right and right for all times. So absolutely, I do want to proceed with phase one. I would like it to persist in the budget for phase two, knowing full well, realistically, it's probably not going to happen until 2026, simply because this is how these things seem to move. But in the meantime, we should be looking around for applying for grants. We should be looking around to talk to the state about situations down in Wyman Road. Yes, we should. And meanwhile, there's also the project that keeps getting kicked with Creek Run Road, railroad swale, that I do believe that there might be specific railroad monies to be had to deal with that. So while it sounds like a rather aggressive investment, this this is why I think that we have at least 1.3, probably closer to almost $1.7 million in the storm sewer reserve.
Okay, Beth, thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone else like to make a comment? Okay, if not, let's move. Go
So
ahead.
to be clear, I just wanna,
Yes.
staff at this point needs direction on, is the Wayman Road, I guess, we'll just go down the list. Streets run railroads, Will, is that to be included in the project list for 2025?
We need to vote on this individually, or?
No, staff needs direction, so I need
I think
consensus to
I'm in
prepare the
favor of
budget.
that.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of that.
Okay,
Can we ask
All in
about the
favor?
railroad monies that Beth said for that streets run project?
if she has information that she can send to staff, we can certainly evaluate it.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Wayman Road storm sewer, is that the consensus to include that in the project list for 2025?
Why should Whitehall pay for this?
I think that the state, we should,
I would really like
Press
to
on the
argue back
state.
to the state on that.
Can I clear something up there? On the Wayman project, there's a 72-inch under the road and like, I think a 60-inch under the road. But the bulk of that project is the 102-inch that is from the parking lot all the way through to Wayman Creek. It's not under the state road.
Whitehall's infrastructure.
Yeah,
just
it's
happens to be
Whitehall has an
located
easement for
under
it.
a
It's their
street.
project.
And to clarify, just to revisit the thing I mentioned earlier, this project that we're talking about is Whitehall infrastructure. The
Correct.
one that we're fighting with them was not put in by Whitehall, right? It was put in by someone else, by PennDOT when they did the road, but they're saying it's our responsibility. That's the one we're fighting with them with, and we're not, that's one where we've had the payment. The one where it's our infrastructure, we're responsible for our.
Correct, it just goes under a state road.
What they're saying is, what they've taken the position on is that when the state road goes in and they put in the stormwater, because we're a borough, we're now responsible for it for now and forever. That's what we're fighting with them about. So it's a little bit different situation.
Excuse me.
So fighting this would be
It's
an
our-
uphill battle. It would
This
be.
is
how
we
it
can do
happens,
it.
yeah.
But I'll just say, I'm not even sure, we can talk in executive session, want to really debate the legalities of it, but it's not the same issue.
And the state portion is a smaller portion of that.
If anything, if we were gonna fight over something,
It's a small, you're not fighting over 385,000, it's a smaller portion that you're fighting.
Understood.
okay, I think the
Can I
consensus
ask a
is,
quick question? Is it the council, is it Gateway Engineers? Who decided to do this in 2 phases?
this is the recommendation by our engineers. We
By
asked them this.
engineers.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Engineer, I have a question for you. You must not be exactly sure, being an engineer, that do this in phase 1 will take care of the whole situation. That's why you suggested a phase 2. So, I don't wanna put a Band-Aid on this, okay? We need stitches, Band-Aids, and make it better. To me, if you're an engineer, you wouldn't have said phase 2, you'd have put everything in. But now you have it in
Well,
2
we're
parts.
looking at
You
options
must
for
be
cost, too.
anticipating
Yeah, I think our
some type of
engineers,
problem, or you need extra help with this water. So I need the council, on the direction of Gateway Engineering, because since they're engineers, that this to be done, both things, to take care of this in the right manner. Not halfway here.
okay,
And
we're gonna
you,
move
sir.
on. Okay, we're gonna
So-
move on.
So the
Uh,
Wayman,
okay.
the consensus is to include
Wayman
Wayman,
Road.
is that?
Where do we stand on that? I'm in favor of keeping it in the budget.
I am too. I worry if it is the ticking time bomb that we're hearing, maybe we get through 2025 okay, and then it fails in 2026, and I look at 2026 with Baptist Road having construction planned and Wayman having emergency construction. Nobody wants to deal with that.
Is
So
that the consensus of the,
Yes,
Group.
Linda's,
Okay.
so keep the women in the budget, yes.
And let's be clear, all these projects are already in the budget, so it's just a question of what your tolerance is for how much the fund balance is gonna
That's
be.
right.
So everything is in there, so you can feel comfortable knowing that, you can do these projects, it's just you'll have less of the fund.
okay, is there any
Mr.
question?
Mayor, I'm asking you, for us on West Club, to get both of these phases in this budget.
All right, they're going down the
Moving on.
list here, so we'll
Okay.
see. All right, go ahead.
Regarding the pollution reduction, any questions
So I'm
regarding
gonna
that?
put that stormwater utility miscellaneous, those are MS4 requirements that all work together, so is the consensus to continue to include those 3 items as far as our MS4 permitting is
Yes,
I understand that MS4 is mandatory, absolutely, keep that.
It's only $5,000 too.
For the PRP, but then
For
there's
the
other
PRP,
additional
everything else is-
work that goes into the permitting. So then it's now down to the Club West, 1 and 2, and if those are to be included in this budget or a future budget, and what the direction is.
Okay,
so
we'll
we can
go
rework the
backwards
numbers.
way on this, consensus. Any interest in, phase 2 at this point? Budgeting X amount of money? I
I
say
would
not.
like some more
Well, we
information.
Well, yeah, I want the schematics of that, please, and even if we were to say yes to it, we probably couldn't even get to it till 2026.
Is that right? Is that right, Brian?
It would take some time for easements, right? I mean,
Okay, but
that's
it-
kind of
but-
a wild card.
Well, what Stone is saying is, it's highly, well, I don't wanna put words in your mouth. Would you say it's likely, highly likely, that we would not be able to do phase 2 until 2026?
Really depends on easements, and that's
All
another
right,
real
right.
battle.
I'm asking you.
So for the 2025 budget, we don't need to.
Yeah, for the 2025, it's unlikely that we'll get to phase, in other words, do we have to fight this battle now, or can we wait till the 2026 budget, is what I'm saying. And the other thing is, could you look into the 360,000, I'm looking at that number, okay? And I ask, why does $360,000 have to come from road improvements? All right, and
No, that's only for phase
yeah,
2.
yeah, right.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, we have a 500,000 road budget, right, that's gonna do a whole lot of roads. And we've got this little road, West Club, and it's gonna take $360,000?
That was because it's a full depth reconstruction to
Okay.
bring it to borough standards.
The
All
road that
right.
exists
So it
is
isn't just a
small.
mill pave. It
So
was-
you're saying, so we're gonna be taking property away from property owners?
That's part
So
of
we're
it.
gonna widen the road?
That's part of
Yeah.
it, to make it the borough standard.
And so we're gonna have to go to all the residents according to that agreement.
They'd
So-
all have to sign off.
So I don't know how in the world you
That's
could
what
put
it
it in the
is.
2025 budget. Everybody understand that? Not only would we, that what they're talking about in phase 2 is an actual widening of the road. It requires, because of an agreement that Whitehall Borough has had with all those residents, that is, from a long time ago, that we would have to get permission, I'm not quite sure what, but it would be a legal process to try to bring all those residents on board. So I don't see how you could go, phase 2 is not gonna happen in 2025, so why don't you prove the first phase, and we'll deal with 2026, next year, realizing how much work will need to be done.
Okay, is that a general feeling?
Does phase 1 definitely have that asphalt out of Miss?
We got one. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Stone.
Does phase 1 definitely takes that asphalt swale out, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay,
And the pipe is being.
Yes, and a pipe,
Right.
and can we
Pipe
fast
from
Yeah,
top to
replace
bottom.
the soil with the pipe.
yes.
And that whole
Let's get it.
thing is going to be, I'm sorry.
I think we.
Wait,
let's
Also,
fast
the
track.
Down
I
West
just-
Club.
I just have-
I'm with you. I'm
sorry.
I just want to get to do.
Go on, Mayor, please.
The phase 2, question here for you.
Yes.
The current width of the road, how much wider do we need to be?
16 foot now.
So I don't know, I apologize, I don't have that in front of me.
Okay,
I measured it
I can
at,
get that for you.
okay.
how wide are our current streets?
24 on
Okay,
average.
so Lacey,
Yeah.
24, I measured it at one point, I think I gave you those measurements, I think I got it to 19 at the most, so you're talking at least 5 feet in that widest point, and with other, it's even.
Yeah, cause it goes down,
Right.
it's wider at the top than it goes
Okay.
down.
So
Then
that means though,
you're gonna have a whole set of other residents here.
you've got your 16-foot road now, but you're gonna need another 5 feet or more from every single resident all the way down.
Yes.
They're gonna have to agree to that all the way down. Okay,
And each one
Also-
would have to sign off. They
right,
all have to
right,
sign off.
that's part of the
I
easement, and
remember,
that's part of the
I
legal
remember
fees.
talking with the engineer, the one who's usually here. He also said about just putting some storm drains, like at the very top and also down West Club to help eliminate. And put a pipe under, all the way from the top by Bronzeville.
So
Okay,
is there, it
so
does
we're-
not appear there's consensus to
There's no
include phase two.
consensus.
Okay, so
Let's
is there
go now.
consensus for phase one?
But there is on
Let's go
phase
to-
one.
Well,
That's what
let's
Mr. Beach
discuss
was
that, okay? Consensus is to move forward on, phase one. Mine would be a yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I ask one question? If you do phase one now, that's fine. If you do phase two later, is it gonna affect what you did with phase one?
No, our plan will be to tie in phase
What's
two to
there?
phase one.
I just wonder, because of the widening of the road and where the catch basin's gonna be, it's,
That's something we would have to
yeah, I'm just saying.
plan for.
So,
It's a good call out though, absolutely.
Excuse me, how many storm sewers are in phase two?
Marty, we're not gonna talk about phase two, let's get off phase two
Well,
right now, we're not ready
But,
for
but
it.
you might be able to do this all in phase one if you put the right amount of storm sewers in, Bill. You don't have to widen the street to solve this problem. You don't need these easement agreements. You don't need to pave it. If you put 4
We have
storm
Scott
sewers
look at that.
down there in phase one,
We
you
could have
don't
him-
need phase
We
two.
could have him look at that, Marty, it could be an
So
option.
for the 2025 budget, we will include those and rework these numbers for the final packet for December 4th then.
Gotcha.
Is that?
Can-
We all agree to that?
Yes.
Okay,
Can-
all right, so we can move off.
Did you, sorry, did you have a question?
Can we have some further information from the engineers though on
Wednesday's meeting?
what a little bit more information on phase two?
If that's council's direction, they can
Sure.
certainly.
Could we have that?
Well, by the way, we have that by Wednesday.
No.
No, I realize you won't have that by Wednesday, it's a very fast turnaround, but could
Well,
we
that
have
would
some
be,
more? I would really like some more
20
information.
26.
Yeah, that's certainly something that then would come out of just general engineering that you'd be paying for their time.
So the challenge would be whether we could avoid phase two altogether if we add another inlet like
That's what
Marty
I'm,
suggested.
that's what I was trying to say,
Okay, so,
because
could
I
add
talked
okay,
to,
all right,
Okay.
all right.
what's the
But I wanna
engineer-
get phase one in the budget.
What's the engineer's name that's usually here?
Scott,
Scott,
He,
Brian.
him and I talked, we even talked about putting some storm sewers down West Club.
Well, Scott will
It
be
might
here on
eliminate
Wednesday,
that
right?
whole
Yeah.
number two.
Okay.
I have a question about the Wayman Road, going back to Wayman Road. Because
That's
you,
what I was trying to get at.
you said that we were, for phase two, we were gonna take money from the general fund, which was our liquid fuels fund, and use it for phase two, right? Or a portion of it.
That's
Money.
for West Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can we do the same thing with the Wayman, Road sewer project? Can we take part of our liquid fuels fund and use that, allocate that towards
It's not
the
liquid fuels.
repaving of Wayman?
It's not liquid fuels money, it's coming from the general fund. But the project at Wayman is underground, so there's not, we're not installing new roadway over there like would be necessitated by phase two of Club.
Then what part of general fund is it under, if it's not? Where would we be taking the money from hypothetically if we were gonna do phase two, just to see where that money's
The
coming from?
360 would come from the general fund, from the
Because-
savings
Would it be-
account.
Just
yes.
like
I
your
know,
roads.
what account though, is what I'm saying, capital
General
projects
fund.
or
It's
general
not-
fund?
Just from the general fund, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we okay? Everybody's okay with, putting, option one in the budget for 2025?
Okay, so we'll